Hey guys, this is your inspirational nurse _RN Tiara come to you live with another great video. So today's video is my top 6 tips on how to nail your virtual interview. Now, for those who do not know, this is a new trend. This is what the big corporations, mostly your big hospitals, are using to get through so many applicants, right? And you only have a few minutes to capture their attention. So if you're super interested in this video on how to nail it, please keep watching and I'm going to give you the great tips. Top 6 tips on how to nail a virtual interview. Now, for those who just came to the channel, welcome. And for those who coming back, hello again. I am so excited to share these tips with you. So let's get started. So tip number 1, y'all. Recently, I did a virtual interview with one of the biggest hospitals in the area. Now, I'm going to spill the gems that I know for a fact that the questions that was repetitive, or maybe I noticed something, a pattern when doing a virtual interview and how to nail it. So tip number 1 is to make sure that your Wi-Fi and your software and your phone, and whether you use your phone or your laptop or in your sound on your devices is on. So make sure your Wi-Fi is working. Maybe there's a certain area in your house that the Wi-Fi is really good and some areas it's not. So make sure you're in that area where it's working really well. And make sure that your phone and software is really good and it's up to date, and your laptop as well. So I chose to use my phone when I was doing the virtual interview because my resume and all my files are on my phone. So it's just easy for me to do it that way, but you don't have to. Tip number 2, guys, they're going to ask you about how to bring the team together. What are some ideas that you can give the manager to bring the team together on the unit, right? Because teamwork is everything, guys. You cannot do a nursing job by yourself. It takes a village. It takes a team to get the job done. So this is, I noticed, a repetitive question about bringing the team together. So now what I learned is to put yourself in your management shoes. How would that manager bring the team together on that unit? Would they do things like employee of the month? Would they do things like trusting exercises? Whatever you think that is a professional answer, not an answer that you would do personally, but something that a corporate business would do, that they find appropriate, right? That they would do it. Merit increases, things of that nature to bring your team together. So think of this question before you get on your virtual interview, because you only have a few seconds to make an impression, right? So tip number 3, y'all, they're going to ask you about time management. Now, I remember hearing this question. Now, what if you have call bells ringing, you have blood transfusions going, you have another patient that has something going on? How would you prioritize your care in that second, in that moment, right? So for me, guys, I use the ABC because at the moment when you only have a few seconds to think, I'm always going to treat my airways first. I'm going to go do my lines, check my blood transfusions. Depends on the situation that they give you. This can be a little tricky question. Just remember, sometimes less is more when you are doing a virtual interview. They just want the meat and potatoes. They don't want you to have to spill 2 paragraphs because you don't have the time for it, y'all, and they're not going to sit and listen. Tip number 4. Don't get disappointed with their facial expressions or if they're cutting you short. Because just keep in mind, they have hundreds of applicants that they have to get through, right? So they're just going to cut you short if you're going too long in a certain question. If they ask you something and you're fumbling around with your words, that's not a good question. That's not a good answer because obviously you're trying to think of what to say. So you need to be prepared for a virtual interview. I feel like that is something you need to be prepared for because you only have a few seconds to answer. Tip number 5, make sure you dress to impress. Make sure that you're smiling and you look warm and inviting and approachable, right? You don't want to be rushing on to your virtual interview because maybe you're just now getting into it because your Wi-Fi was acting up or something was going on. Make sure that you're prepared and that you're interviewing with the actual manager for that unit. So if you're applying for a specialty, you want to be able to hear them clearly when they're asking you something. The last tip would be to make sure that your resume is up to date, guys. I'm talking about most recent activities. If you're coming back to a corporation or a hospital you used to work with in the past, make sure that you tell them why you left. They're going to ask. And sometimes I'm going to be honest, guys, you need to be 100% transparent when it comes to when they're asking you about a particular job. You will find that most nurses probably work that job. So don't be afraid to share if you didn't have a good experience, because you still learned something, right? It still was experience for you and you still was there. And your time is valuable, y'all. Y'all don't want to not count something. Now, if y'all been doing the job for especially more than 3 months, it's something to put on your resume, right? So don't have them try to backtrack your dates. Make sure your dates on your resume lines up so that it's easy for them to scan your resume. Now, your resume might look fabulous, but when it comes to the job part, the experience, it has to add up, because then they're going to question any gap in employment. And now interviews are getting very tense. And now, guys, now that the travel nursing rates are down, I'm sure that's why there's so much more applicants, right, for nurses trying to look for work or get a job. So now there's more challenges to that. Now there's more competition. So what's going to let you stand out is connecting with that manager, right? Because your manager is everything. To me, that's your leader. That's the person that you're going to be going to, that's going to be setting up your orientation and your training, and they're going to remember you. So you want to be remembered, right? You want them to leave that interview and go, she said a good answer for team building, right? Like, I used trust exercise and the manager wrote it down and was like, actually, that was a good one. Yeah, trust exercising is important, because if we don't trust each other, we're not going to help each other when it comes to having crisis on a unit, or maybe somebody's life. Maybe there's a code and everybody needs to come to that room. I've seen some weird things in nursing. I've seen things like, as far as if they didn't get along with you, they not helping you, and you just on your own. That's why you do not want to burn all your bridges when it comes to any job that you have. You want to always leave that job with a 2 weeks professional notice. Now, I have shared my 2-week notice with my friends and let them borrow my words, because they like, girl, I don't even know what to say. And I always have a professional written, typed letter of 2 weeks of just thanking them for the opportunity. I always thank them for that. Even if I'm leaving a travel assignment, I send a professional email to say, hey, thank you for allowing me to be here for 13 weeks. I have learned so much and looking forward to working with you in the future. Something of that nature, y'all. Y'all don't want to be out here burning bridges. And now when it's time to find work, you're like struggling to find work, right? Because there is a such thing as being blacked out or blackmailed or whatever it's called. Now, I didn't know about this until, I want to say, my 4th year in of nursing, when I learned that some people will blackmail you out of certain hospitals and certain organizations where they don't want you back, and you completely cannot come back, right? Because where you live at is everything. Like, your reputation is everything. So that's why I say now being a senior nurse is so important when there is conflict on a unit, because they do ask a lot about that as well, how to deal with conflict. Recently, I had an interview question about how to deal with someone who has anxiety. Now, my answer to that was to just stay quiet and just to be present, because when someone has anxiety, they don't always need you to be giving them their opinion. They don't always need you to be trying to fix them. They just need you to be present. Just a presence alone is enough. And I've seen that they were like shaking their head on agreeance to it, because when you're being interviewed, you can read people's body language, right? You can read facial expressions. If you're saying something, you're not saying something that's not adding up or is right. I had a interview Friday, guys, that went really, really well, but I was there for 2 hours. Like, they were so informative and I was so grateful. It was for a management position, so I'm crossing my fingers, but it went really well. And I had a lot of questions for them, because when they say, do you have anything to ask? If you say no, that is a red flag, guys. Y'all should be asking questions. This is your time with your management team and your leadership and your company to be asking them as many questions as possible, right? And then take notes. I always take notes on my interviews, because if I'm hired, I want to remember those things that they told me, right? That meat and potato of that company, the benefits, the what makes them different as a community or a company, or what do their missions are, and what are they looking for in a leader, and do I fit that, and do they have any other applicants? Like, sometimes they will disclose that to you, like if they're still interviewing or they're not interviewing and they're getting ready to make their decisions. That's a question you can ask. When can I expect the answer? Because you don't want to be home and not get something. Now, there are unprofessional places out there that you will interview that will not tell you if you got the job or not. Now, you're calling like, hey, what's going on? Did I get it? Did I not get it? That is not a good place to me, that's a big red flag, because someone should always be reaching out and saying, hey, you know, you did not get this job because maybe we wanted someone with more experience. That way, you know what you need to work on in order to get that job, right? It's always a learning. This is always a learning process for both parties. And this is a time for them to get to know you. And like I said, my biggest tip when you're doing any interview, whether it's virtual or not, is to be honest, because being honest and transparent is possible, especially if they're asking for a particular job and what happened, why you left. Be real about it. You know, make sure they know that, yeah, things don't always turn out well. Nurses know that. Oh, remember, the people that's managing is nurses too. So half the time when I told them about a particular experience that I had, and I always get people laughing in my interview, and it'd be for a good reason. And at first I'd be taking a little bit like, why are you laughing? But then they'd be like, I'm laughing because I was you. I've done that, and I had that same experience. And that place gave me that same experience. And so it makes me feel better knowing that I'm sharing something that these nurses can, you know, connect to. Like, you know, we're connecting. So an interview can be as long as, like I said, mine was I was there for almost 2 hours. Some interviews are 5 minutes or less. Literally, the virtual interviews are really, really fast, and then they're on to their next applicant. Do you have any questions? Which, it's good to have somebody that know how to do a really good virtual interview with you, but not all the time you might get that. You know, some managers have some certain personalities. They know what they're looking for. They'll know what type of nurse is going to fit that team that they already have. Remember, think of it like that. They already have a team. You're asking to join their team. So they'll always look at it as a job. I'm applying for the job. I qualify. They know you qualify for the job. But do you fit that team? That team is everything to that manager, because she doesn't want to put the wrong personalities together, right? To break up the family, happy family that they have already. Or maybe you're introvert, right? And these girls and guys are extroverts. And, you know, so they're looking at all these things, right? So you will never know sometimes in an interview what kind of question might come to you. Like I said, when the anxiety question came, I was prepared because I've dealt with a lot of people that have anxiety, right? We all get anxiety, whether it's good or bad, but having anxiety is not a bad thing. Now, if it's out of your control, and somebody's just having a moment, I've been with a lot of people who have moments. I'm always the go-to. So I'll just stay quiet, and I just let them vent. I let them do whatever they need to do to calm down, because somebody with anxiety knows what they need to do, right? And they just need somebody to be right by their side. That's all they need. So guys, I hope this video was super helpful when it comes to your top 6 virtual interview, top 6 tips to nailing your virtual interview. I wanted to drop these gems because I want to help nurses. I know some nurses are probably looking for work, or some people are interviewing now, and they're like, maybe they wasn't prepared for that type of interview. I even have done interviews on a virtual level where it was like really high tech, and it was like you were a virtual cartoon going to a virtual building, yes, going up a virtual elevator to your floor, and every floor had different companies, which was so cool. My school actually was the one who hosted this, and I thought it was cool. It was so different, but it was so technical. It had your name, so every time you walked around, you actually can go to your company's table, sit down for an interview, and then it was just so cool. It was like a video game. But that's kind of where we're going, y'all. Y'all know with technology, things are changing. So don't get stuck in the old school way of interviewing and getting with your management team, because things are not the same. I'm from New York, y'all. I remember walking down the street and just walking in a job and asking the boss right and then and there for a job and getting jobs. Like, that's the New York way. Like, that's what I was used to. Coming to VA, it definitely changed, right? Things are different. And definitely we are going more technical now. So now don't feel like, okay, I'm not a computer person, because you don't have to be a computer person to do a virtual interview, or like the way that I just told you my school did it. You just have to have the equipment and it's working, right? Maybe get your teenage kids or somebody, because these little 6-year-olds, like my son, he know how to work everything. My phone, he just press a button and it be working. I be like, these kids are smart. So get one of them kids, somebody kid. If you don't got no kids, get a neighbor kid and have them come help you set up for your virtual interview. Make a good impression and knock out this thing. You got it. And if you're not successful the first time, keep going. It is a learning process for everybody. You're not going to get every job that you apply for. Keep at it because somebody's going to want you. Nursing, there's so many jobs, so don't get discouraged, y'all. Keep your heads up and pray and ask God to show you favor. And I always try to follow what God tells me to tell y'all, so y'all are prepared or y'all have a heads up or your leg up. So I am so excited to share this with you guys. Please share your success stories down below. Or if you want to discuss a specific topic on certain things, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. This platform is for everybody, no matter your experience in this nursing game, or you want to get into nursing, or you thinking about it. Either way, welcome to the Inspiration Channel. Invite your friends, share, like, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button right now, guys. Y'all gotta hit it and share it with your friends. And don't forget to check my Inspirational Find Shop. In the next 24 hours, there's going to be a bunch of discounts for July 4th. I'm getting ready to put a July 4th discounts for all my subscribers that's on this channel, this platform. You guys are first to know. I'm going to drop that gem right now, just let you know. So you're going to head over to the Inspirational Find Shop, and there you will find something for everybody. It's not just for nursing. I wanted to do something for whether you're EMT, X-ray tech, CNA, LPN, it doesn't matter. There's something for everybody. Nursing student, I wanted to bring something in there for everybody, and I'm still building it. And I thank you guys for being so supportive in these times. Y'all don't understand. Y'all have been my backbone, my help, my prayers, my angels, my family, my cousins. Y'all have been so, I'm so grateful just for y'all. Y'all don't understand, and I appreciate everything, all the love. And I'll see you guys on the next one.